I'm Becca Johnson. I'm here with Jonathan, and Jonathan is going to go over a feature of Hindenburg. And first, I just want to give you a few details about AirMeet. First of all, your mics and cameras are disabled. We can't see or hear any of you, but if you want to use the chat, you can do that. The chat is just for general conversation, introductions, things like that. But there is a tab on the chat that's like little Q&A icon. If you click on that, that's where you ask us questions. Ask them there, not in the main chat, because we won't be able to see them if they're in the main chat. I mean, we'll have to kind of sift through them and we might miss them is the point. So when you put them in the Q&A area, we'll be able to put them on the screen and then Jonathan can answer them after this. While Jonathan is presenting, there's a little icon in the middle called reactions. If you hover over it, it's a little smiley face. If you want to give Jonathan some applause or party hats or whatever it is as he's presenting, you can do that.
He needs it.
Thank you. Right. People are already doing it. They're already excited. And then after this presentation, we'll go back to the tables. Some of you are already at the tables, and that's where we'll have different labeled tables. You can sit down and hang out and chat with us if you want, or ask us individual questions there. So thanks again for being here, and I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan.
Yes, thank you, Becca. Thank you all for showing up. That's exactly right. So for those folks who haven't been here before, this is our monthly office hours. And what we want to do is to just do a presentation once a month and just show you a feature that you might not be aware of. That's the idea. It's just to highlight something or go a little deeper than on something you might not know. Today's is going to be all about inserts, whatever however you want to say it. And I'm sure that many of you do know about inserting, but we'll just kind of maybe clear some things up and maybe you'll learn something you didn't know about it. And then at the end, as Becca said, we'll go out to the tables, and then you can just ask your questions one-on-one with the Hindenburg trainer. We have a Spanish table for our Spanish-speaking friends and a German table for our German-speaking friends. One day we'll get all the languages, we hope. So yeah, and as she said, put any if you want to say hi or anything like that, you can put that into the chat. There's a Q&A area to put any questions. We did put a link into the chat as well for our next event, which is actually this Thursday. It's an AMA with Deirdre from Capshow, which is very cool. It's going to talk about like kind of the AI stuff in the back end of podcasting. So anyway, interesting stuff to know about. So that'll be on Thursday if you want to check into that. And the replay of this will be on our Facebook community page. So if you're not already a member, we'll also put a link into the chat. You can join there. You can watch a replay there. It's also on YouTube and everywhere else things are streamed. Okay. So that's enough waffling. Let's just get into it. Inserts. I'm just going to start presenting and going about things here. So what do we mean by insert? So here's Hindenburg. Let me clean some stuff up a little bit for you. For those folks who are new to this, this is the newer version of Hindenburg if you're used to the old one. This is Pro. There are colored regions, other things like that. So what I have here are a few different regions, and I have this favorites window of mine. And I'm just going to get this out of the way, I think. So I have this favorites window of mine. I'll probably bring up the clipboards too. So let's just talk about what is inserting in general, okay? So inserting is when you take a piece of audio, a region, or space, and you want to put it somewhere. So you may be aware of it, like if I have this region here, if I make a selection and I cut it, it cuts and it snaps together. If I were to delete it, it would leave a space there, okay? So some people are aware of this too. If you make a selection in some space, you can cut it, and it will shift everything over. So the cutting works just like snapping. The cutting makes the snap function happen. If you would press delete, nothing would happen. So just keep that in mind for some of the inserts have a kind of similar functionality with things, okay? So what is inserting in general? If you were to copy something, let's say it's this region, the one in green, and I was to say, I did a right click and I did copy. And so, there's copy paste, which most people are very familiar with, right? Copy paste. So you can do that by Command C and Command V, just like Microsoft Word or anything like that. Okay. So that was just me doing copy and paste. Okay. So what's the difference between that and copy and insert? Here I'm inserting. Well, it looks pretty similar. And in a kind of a way it is. But here's the difference, basically. When you make a selection, which I'm going to do in a different colored region to just show it, okay? So I've copied that green region here, okay? And in this blue one, if I were to make a selection and paste it in, it will be pasted in to the area that I made the selection of. So I copy this, I come over here, and I paste. And I can do that by right-clicking here and saying paste. And it goes in there, okay? If I was to do the same thing, but instead of making a selection, which you do by clicking and dragging, or you put those in and out markers in, if I have this white line here and I say insert, it's going to put that in here, but it's going to push over the rest of the region. So an insert is always going to happen at the place of the playhead, which is that white line, and it's going to shift over everything else like that, okay? So just one more time, I come in here, and if I wanted to paste, it would go inside of the area that I did a selection for. And if I wanted to insert, it goes here. I'm sorry, I did this. It goes like this, and it shifts this over, okay? So that's the general idea. So what I have done about I don't know, 100 times, and we'll probably do 100 times more, is I make a selection here like this. I want the thing I've copied to go in the middle. And it's usually not a region like this. It's usually room tone, which we'll talk about in a second. And I want it to go in there, and then I insert it instead, and it does this, and it shuffles this over because I was looking to paste instead of insert, okay? There's some other things you can do with insert, because remember, pasting kind of covers over it. I always think of it like wallpaper paste, like it's covering over something on your wall. Inserting is like you're inserting it in there, so it's pushing everything out of the way. So you can copy a region like this. You also can copy silence. Okay, so if you copy just silence, like, and when I say silence, I don't mean room tone, I mean just blank, nothing silence, like from the workspace. You can copy this, right click and copy. I should say the command for insert is, if you right click here, you'll see this. It's about, I don't know, 5 down. It's Command I or Control I on Windows. And if you say insert, Control I, it will push that over. Okay, whoops. So it'll push that region over. So I copied some silence, some blank space, and I went here and I said insert, and it will push that over. Now that, you might say, why would you ever need to do that? Fair enough. You also, though, the use case for this is that if you had an area that you knew you wanted to, like, let's say there were markers there or something, and you wanted to just shift everything over that amount, you can also do this on multiple tracks, which is you could say copy this, and then you can insert, and all of the tracks will shift over. So just a handy way to move things around if you need to have the whole file move. So to show you, that's on all the tracks shifting around there. Okay. So a few things that you can do there with it. In all honesty, the way that I personally use it is that I, in the favorites window, will record some room tone. And room tone, just in case you don't know, is just the recorded silence in whatever space that you're in. And if like whenever I did interviews and that kind of thing in the past, I would always record just the sound of the room. It's just a very common practice. You should do it in the sound of your room as well, just to make sure that you have the sound, because actual digital silence is can be fine, but especially with edits and things, it's nice to be able to have room tone stuff in there so it doesn't sound so obvious, basically, is what it is. So the way that I use a lot of this inserting stuff is I'd record some nothing. All right, there it is, nothing. And you were all great and being very patient. And then I just take that and I put it in the favorites window. Okay, so now I have some of this nothing here. I'm just going to call it room tone. Okay. All right, and then something you can do from the favorites window is the same from the clipboards, works the exact same way. So if you have imported a number of clips into your clipboard, or you've organized them that way, you can insert anything anywhere, which is very handy. If you right click on something in the clipboard, you have a few different options. You can paste the clip in, which we talked about before, or you can insert a clip. Okay. So if I go back here, I got my little clip of audio here, right? And to make it easier to see, we're going to make this one red. Okay. So in this red clip, I could, if I wanted to insert some space here, some room tone in there, I can right click here from the favorites window and say insert clip, and it will put it, because you got to be on the right track, but it will put it into that track. So that's the way that I personally use it. You can do that. You can also paste from the clipboard here. You can say paste that clip in there, and it will paste in there into that track. But it has to be unarmed. So that's the way you would do that. There's another thing that is very handy to do, and that is to do a special type of insert. Okay, so here's that clip of room tone here. Okay, so this is I don't know how long this is, like a couple seconds long. Okay, or a second long, whatever it is. Okay, actually, it's about 4 seconds long, this room tone here. So I can do this thing where I can copy this, and this is a feature that see, when you right click here, it says copy and paste and all this stuff. And we've recently added this. It's this replace. Okay, and a lot of people don't know about this, but it's a way to make any space the exact thing that you are copying. So let me just explain. If I copy this thing right here, right, this clip, and I want to replace something. If I made a selection and I said replace it, what it is even if I made that selection very small like this, it will take that and it will put it in that space. Okay, so very similar to inserting. Okay, I mean, it's a very similar thing, except that you can then make a very large gap. So let's say I copied this, just a very small piece of audio here, and I said copy, and then I made this very large selection here on something else, and then I did the replace function. It will make that into the thing that I already copied. Okay, so to show you again. Okay, so here's, by the way, if you haven't seen that before, you can have multiple tracks stored in your favorites window and just take them in and out. Okay, so if I copy this part here, okay, and I come in here and I make a small selection or a large selection, it works both ways, and I say I want to replace this with the thing that I copied, it will put that in over the area I copied. So it will not shift the other stuff down. It'll just take the area you've selected, and you can replace it with any piece of audio or silence or anything else. So it's kind of a hidden feature. The key command for that is going to be Shift Command V. A lot going on there if you're not used to it. But basically, it's like if copy and paste is Command C, Command V, Shift Command V would be replace. Okay, so insert, you're always inserting stuff in to have it push down the timeline. Pasting is when you want to cover over something exactly where you've made a selection. And the replace feature means that you can copy something and then like you can say, I want to copy this thing here. And then even if I made a small selection or a large selection like this, like I'm going to select this larger part here, it'll make it go into that space. So you're replacing it with the thing that you copied. Okay. So that is what we wanted to show you, because I think some people, it's no fault of their own, you might not know about some of that stuff. Okay. So you can insert on multiple tracks. You can copy silence and insert it in. I really recommend that you record some room tone and do things like that. Okay. And you can use that replace function. Okay. So with that, I am going to say that let's go out to the tables. So if you haven't seen it before, there are some different tables. There's one for Pro, for narrator, for Spanish, German speaking, and the CASA folks here for our certification course. You can ask any questions to us there, and we will happily answer them. And so the replay of this will be in our Facebook stream. It's also going to be on our YouTube channel. If you go to the live section, it'll be there. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you at the next one. Okay. So we'll see you out at the tables, everybody.